What is the best? It's not a bug, it's a feature that you've ever seen. Used car salesman who sold my dad the family's first minivan told him the car drifted to the right as a safety feature to keep the driver from falling all asleep and then drifting into oncoming traffic. Dad made him get it fixed before buying. Freaking used car salesman. They would even advertise large dents as anti-theft features. One of the software developers at a company I used to work for would display fail GIFs whenever the app produced an error on an internal application. After each new deployment, the employees who used the software would try all kinds of things to break the software just to see the new, hilarious fail GIF. Nice. Incentivizing black box testing. I like it. In the original Wing Commander game, the programmer making the quit game button caused a crash when pressed instead of shutting the game down naturally. Instead of fixing it, he changed the crash text to "Thank you for playing Wing Commander" and left it as is. This reminds me of a huge gripe I have with many older games. Anytime I try to close them, it just crashes. It's the executable equivalent of "you can't fire me, I quit." One of the Toyota models a few years back had a unique geometry that caused specific patterns of turbulent flow just behind the side view mirrors that was annoying as crap if you drive with the windows open. But if you drive with them closed, the turbulent air would blow off any snow or water. Self-clearing mirrors was a sales point when I was looking at cars, if I recall correctly. Reminds me of the Leaf. If you look at the headlights, they seem uselessly bulbous. The mirrors are designed poorly and make a ton of wind noise, which is super noticeable in an EV. They sculpted the headlights to direct airflow away from the mirrors, because that design change is way cheaper than redoing the mirrors. During uni, a group I was in made a game in which each consecutive jump would be shorter than the last because the guy programming it didn't do it very well. The prac teacher tried to say it's a fatigue feature and I was like, frick that. That's actually an interesting idea. You can wall jump, but each successive jump is weaker, so it can't be chained endlessly. Supposedly post-it notes were created by a guy trying to invent a really strong glue. The glue he made was really weak, so he just put it on some papers and stuck them on the wall to write on. Someone thought it was really cool, so they marketed it. So in short, post-it notes glue was supposed to be super strong, but it ended up on paper. This one is just a rumor. As I live next to the 3M headquarters, I've heard it a million times. Haven't bothered to confirm it though. Hormonal birth control had a tough time getting started while its marketing was being described as birth control. So, it was marketed as a way to control the cycle, and the fact that you couldn't get pregnant while you were on the pill was just a side effect. Yeah, I've heard that birth control at one point was illegal in several states. There was a video game in the 1980s called Tapen for the Apple computer that had a programming bug that would let you have a negative balance with the local loan shark. You could overpay your loan to him, and then instead of owing him money plus interest, he owed you money plus interest. I bought an HDMI splitter not because I wanted to split my signal at all, but because it scrambles HDCP protection when I'm trying to record gameplay footage. Because of the splitter that I'm not splitting anything with, I can capture PS4 and PS TV footage. I programmed Breakout, which is a pretty low-level game to be teaching to programming students. Anyway, for whatever reason, sometimes a collision would be detected and the block the ball hit would break, but so would another random brick somewhere on the game area. I never figured out why that was happening, so I just called that "you got a bonus hit." In Dwarf Fortress, the fish, carp, were meant to be able to attack the dwarfs if they were swimming in the river, but they were bugged and were able to kill dwarfs outside of the rivers and quickly due to their absurdly high damage and reasonable amount of health, so they became a death trap, and the creator thought this was amusing, so he made it a permanent feature. Even better is the reason they had such high damage. They spent all day working out by swimming. In Borderlands 2, there is a legendary energy shield called the Sham that gives you the ability to absorb almost all projectiles that hit you, negate all the damage that would have been dealt, and add that ammo into your reserves. Ammo varies in rarity in the world of Borderlands. For instance, you can hold up to 900 pistol bullets and find pistol bullets everywhere, but you can only hold around 30 rockets and almost never see them. Enter the Logan's gun. This is a legendary pistol that does crap damage. It deals splash in a small area, and it consumes pistol bullets. However, the fired projectiles technically count as tiny rockets. So when you equip the sham shield and fire the Logan's gun at your feet, the sham absorbs the damage and ammo from the splash, and rockets are added to your inventory. And since pistol bullets are so common in this game, it essentially gives you unlimited rocket launcher ammo. The Bane. The creeper in Minecraft. Notch was originally trying to create the pig creature, but inverted the height and length by accident. In Crusader Kings 2, it is possible to commit genocide against the humans and replace them with horses. Grand Theft Auto is basically the result of this. Originally, the game was supposed to be a racing game. Police vehicles would also chase you through the level. Due to a bug in the eye controller, the police would target the player vehicle instead of near it, and crash straight into you. Developers and testers found this to be more fun, and the crime-based game was created around it. Looting a body through a scrap of meat in any Bethesda game. I love it when an eyeball just magically has a special gun, sword, whatever. That's where I store mine IRL. In Space Invaders, the aliens were originally meant to go at a constant speed, but the processor was too slow, so when an alien died, it freed up resources and the aliens went faster. People playing the game liked this mechanism, so it stayed. I had to make a game in Comp C, so I chose one where you had to run back and forth and dodge boxes, but I wanted the boxes to speed up over time. After spending 3 hours trying to figure it out, I said frick it, I'll deal with it later, and started on another part of my game. Halfway into coding that part, suddenly my boxes started accelerating. Viagra was originally developed as a treatment for high blood pressure. Guys in the clinical test group took note of the drug's unintentional, but very noticeable side effects. My bank has pop-up advertisements when I log in. When asking them to get rid of them, the bank says they are not pop-up advertisements, rather they are important messages to their valued customers. In Socom 3 back in the day, it was really easy to glitch through walls, structures, etc. on the map. It became really common to see lobbies where nobody killed each other, you would just explore the map together. Inaccurate DNA reproduction. This comment gave me cancer. Fainting. I'm a doctor and people are always freaked out about why they passed out doing something. Usually they missed a meal and were overheated or in pain or one of many other things, and the blood to the brain isn't adequate. The body flops to the floor. The brain is perfused adequately because the heart and brain are on the same level. All is better again. Except people freak out because they passed out and call an ambulance, and I have to talk them off the cliff. Every single Sunday with rare exception we see someone who passed out at church. Church syncope is such a common thing that it is a well-described clinical entity in emergency medicine. The entire concept of combos in fighting games started out as a bug. Hyper Beam omitted its recharge turn if it KO'd a Pokemon in red, blue and yellow. This was most likely a bug, considering it was fixed in Pokemon Stadium, but it made Hyper Beam an actually interesting risk-reward deal that required you to know your calculations. It also gave normal types a pretty strong tool to make them shine, something they lack nowadays. Nowadays, the move is just bad, and I kinda wish they'd bring that bug back as an exclusive ability or something. Gen 1 Pokemon is a treasure trove of bugs and exploits. Being able to transfer toxics increasing strength over to leech seeds so you can heal too. The infamous missing no glitch letting you catch anything if you set your character name right at the start. The wackadoodle pathfinding in StarCraft. Goliaths had a mind of their own, man. Upgrade the missile range and those things would chicken walk across the map to shoot down a scourge they saw for 0.2 seconds. Guns the Duel. Holy crap, that entire game. Shooting pump shotguns as fast as machine guns was a display of skill in this game. Learning to butterfly correctly was such an awesome feeling. In Smite, Thor has an attack where he hits the ground with his hammer and a rift wall line thing comes up and can block people and stun people who were directly hit temporarily. However, if you hit an enemy god directly in the middle, then they could glitch in and out of your wall, stunning a little bit longer than normal and confusing players. Hi-Rez has tried to fix it but has essentially said frick it, the reprogramming would be too difficult. Classic Hi-Rez. The way block updating works in Minecraft. It's such a useful bug that they've literally had to code the game to avoid removing it. In Borderlands 2 my main was the Necromancer. Shortly after it was released, people notices it would use a healing beam on enemies rather than the player. I remember seeing patch notes for it, and they were asking the lines of "We noticed this bug, but we won't fix it, cause it's hilarious." I think the exact line was "fixed bug that caused Death Trap to heal enemies rather than player character," even though it was hilarious. Bunny hopping, crouch jumping and jump tricks in general. Quake 1 had a bug in the physics engine that exponentiated your speed if you bunny hopped everywhere. The bug has been in every iteration since and is now known as strafe jumping. I work as a TV editor. The software we use, Avid Media Composer, is primarily used because it lets us group loads of cameras together in sync, so we can quickly and easily swap between video feeds when editing. This feature was, apparently, originally a bug. When multicam was first invented, it was meant to be a way to select which camera feed would be live during sporting events. The original design was for all clips to start at the same time, feed in, and then you could pick what was live, being broadcast, from those feeds, and then all of the clips would stop at once. Some clever assistant editor discovered that this worked with any clip, not just live feeds. As long as there were no breaks in the clips, you could multicam them. And then the smart guy went even further. If all of the clips broke at the exact same point, the multicam group would treat it like a whole new feed and keep working. So the workflow was to put all of your clips into a timeline, add edits across the tracks whenever any of the clips broke, and then you could make multicam groups out of the resulting sub-clips. Apparently this was an exploit of the fairly shoddy original code, which lacked a whole lot of basic checks to ensure it was getting genuine live feed media. Of course, the irony is that multicam is probably the single most important feature of the Avid editing suite today, all according to a friend of mine who worked for Avid at the time, due to a bug. I bought a Philips DVD player about 10ish years ago. It wasn't expensive, even at the time. Anyhow, it would always display the time elapsed duration of the movie when it was played. There was no menu or button to disable it. I got fed up and called their tech support. That was literally their line, "It's a feature." Took that garbage back and bought something else. Gandhian Civilization. Running the pizza in ME3, when the object retrieval objective was added in ME3's co-op. Picking up the item eliminated your character's ability to sprint. You start sprinting or dodge, but the item would drop. Someone figured out that if you began rapidly taping sprint, which also doubled as the interact pickup button, your character would maintain a full sprint and pick up the object as soon as it dropped, allowing you to run with the pizza. It was a very controversial tactic until one of the BioWare devs specifically called it a clever use of game mechanics and said it was okay to do. It wasn't exactly a glitch, but it was clear it was something no one at BioWare had even thought about trying. It might also be the only time the ME3's awesome button was useful. You have been visited by the hamster of joy. Comment: I like chicken to live a happy and full of joy like the joy hamster life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.